Hello, this is Trent Chapman with New Future Team, and I'm going to walk you through the 9 steps to do a loan modification. And now this is a pretty basic 9-step process that we use in our office to help out clients who are looking at doing a loan modification as a first option to avoid foreclosure. So first of all, when you're doing a loan modification, you need to prepare before you even call to your lender to find out what your income and your expenses are each month. They're going to ask you for some information about how much you're spending it on what, and also about what your income is for the household. This includes your spouse or anybody else who is in the household who may be supporting or contributing to the mortgage payment. Now, the reason I say this is the most crucial step is 90% of all loan modifications that get denied is because of income. And most likely, a few of those could have been saved if the proper income was shown in the proper way. Remember, you're dealing with usually $10 an hour employees at the banks who don't really understand the mortgage process or even real estate. So therefore, they're not really going to be able to help you if you're submitting information that they don't quite understand. So this is an important step, knowing how to submit the correct income and how to show your income in a way that they'll accept it. The second step is to call the lender and request that they send a modification package to your home. And this will usually happen only after you give them your income and your expenses over the phone, as we've outlined in step 1. Now step 3, after about a week or two, you'll get your initial package from the bank. Now this package includes quite a few documents and also is requesting that you return a few documents. So in step 4, let's go over this documentation list here. First of all, you'll want to fill out the documentation that's included, and this is usually a request for modification agreement, or RMA. This is provided by your lender in that package. Second is an IRS form 4506T, and this basically gives the bank authorization to pull your tax returns and request a copy from the IRS. And you also receive a Dodd-Frank certification. This is provided by the lender, and it basically says that you have not committed fraud in the last few years, you've never been convicted of fraud, therefore you're eligible for the government program. Now this is only if you're qualifying or trying to qualify for the HAMP loan mod program, which most banks typically will use as the initial program they offer. Also, you need your pay stubs covering 30 days, and if you're self-employed, and if you don't have pay stubs, you'll provide a year-to-date profit and loss statement. You also have to provide tax returns. Most banks require 1 year, some require 2 years for a loan modification. It depends on your lender. And also bank statements for the last 2 to 3 months. Again, this depends on the lender. Most lenders will require 2 months bank statements. And finally, a utility bill or another bill to prove that you occupy the home. Most loan programs for modifications are only for owner-occupied properties. It's difficult and nearly impossible in most cases to get a bank to modify an investment property or second home. Now, step 5 would be to fax the package back to the bank with all the required documents, and only send it in when it's 100% complete. Often people send in half the package or 3/4 of the package expecting the bank to respond to that, but oftentimes they'll not be checked in. And if you're sending a copy by mail, make sure and keep your original copy and send back the copy of that package in the envelope provided by the bank. Typically it'll be in a FedEx envelope with the tracking number. Make sure you keep a copy of the tracking number as well. Then step 6 is basically the longest process, which will take several weeks. Is once a week you'll call in for a status update. Initially you'll ask if there's anything else that's missing as far as documentation or proof of income in order to move the file forward to be reviewed. And once they have confirmed that everything has been reviewed, most likely in a month or two they'll ask for updated documentation. This is usually a stall tactic because their information will be out of date by a couple months. So they'll ask for updated pay stubs or an updated profit and loss statement if you're self-employed and updated bank statements. But by the time they finally get it under review, your question will now change. Every time you call the bank each week, you'll ask them, has the file been reviewed for a trial payment? The goal is to get them to approve the modification, of course, but before that they usually have to set you up on a trial loan mod payment, which may be close to your actual loan mod payment. Now step 7 would be to accept the terms of the trial payment and pay on time for 3 to 5 months or until the final loan modification is approved. Most of the cases I've seen, 3 to 5 months is the typical time frame for the trial modification. In step 8, you'll sign the loan mod documentation and ensure that you complete any other steps included in your documentation list. A lot of times the final approval will be subject to you consulting with a HUD counselor or calling another counsel provided by them to ensure that you have fully understood what has been given to you as the final loan modification terms. Now, make sure you do this properly, because if you do send back the paperwork but do not complete all the terms, they may deny you for your loan modification after all that hard work. And finally, step 9, this is the most important step. Make sure you keep up on your payments. There's too many people who get a loan modification and fall back into default. In fact, more than half of the loan modifications that are approved will go back into default, into active foreclosure status within the 12-month period. So in order to avoid that, make sure that the loan modification really is a good option for you, and that you really do want to stay in the home and can afford the home. And if you can, make sure then you keep up on your payments. Obviously, you can't always really control that, because if your income is going down each month, even after the modification, it still may not be the best option for you. But at the time, it seemed like a good option. So this basically concludes the 9 steps to modify your mortgage. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and submit them down below, and I will go ahead and respond to you directly. If you want to call me, you can also call my office and set a time to set up a one-on-one over the phone consultation. And that's a free consultation where I'll help you and walk you through step by step how the loan modification should work, and most importantly, help you with the first step, and that is to make sure your income is showing properly and is sufficient to qualify for a loan modification.